Welcome back. You are watching third episode about my 1953 Pontiac Chieftain. Today I want to actually start doing something, and just a reminder, this is not a full restoration job. However, I want to make sure that everything is in the correct working order, and so what I know that this car was parked about 27 years in the garage, good garage. It was not like somewhere in the barn. However, I know that everything has to be touched, and of course, first thing would be to try to start the engine. So let's try it. Okay. This is the key. If you remember, selector doesn't have a gear selector doesn't have a position of the park. So when you want to start the engine, it has to be in the neutral. So it's in the neutral. I will turn the key in the first position. So I see that actually fuel gauge moved, which indicates that something it's actually working, power coming here. So let's try. Oh, nothing. Of course, here on the M meter I can see the drop of the voltage. If you look here, I don't know if you can see it. One more time. Oh, again. So let's try to put it back into the 0. Now ignition on and start. Nothing. Well, more fuel. So let's look what's going on there. Let's start with basic. We will see if battery has enough power. So I have this little tester, simple one. So here I have to connect to the positive, and because this is 6-volt battery, it should show here about 6.3 volt, which is here. You see this green, and so let's see. So connected here. Yeah, it shows 6. So now when I push this button, I will engage this resistor, and it kind of simulates the load, and it shouldn't be really dropping too much. So push it right now. See, it's just barely touching that yellow which says weak, but since the battery actually starter doesn't move at all, I don't think it's a problem of the battery. So let's disconnect it. So I think the battery is fine. Well, it will be foolish to start. Of course I charge it. So now here you can see the negative cable, and it's new. I will tell you why it's new. It's a little bit story back few years. And this positive cable, it's also new. So I know that the connection here and here it's correct. I should be trying something which is called voltage drop, but I'm not going to do that because I'm confident that I have enough power coming from here to here. That means a ground, and I'm confident that this is the only wire which goes from positive to the post on the starter. So I will show you what the situation is there. Alright, so here you can see that positive cable going to the post on the starter, and this black wire it's coming from the ignition. And when you turn on the ignition, actually when you try to start, this energizes, that power energizes this solenoid, and it does two things. First, it engages the pinion into the gear on the flywheel, and when it moves, it connects these two posts and brings the power from here to here and to the motor. Okay, so what I'm going to do is that I want to see if actual motor works. So I will neglect this part. I will connect these two posts, and if I connect them, I bring the power directly here. It will not engage with flywheel. However, motor, if it is working right, it should be turning. So let's see. Alright, I brought this sophisticated tool, crowbar, and I will now connect this power with that post. Just look at that. You saw some sparks, so that's mean power goes there. However, motor doesn't move. So let's try one more time. Nothing. So now I can do the same thing and see actually if so motor doesn't work. So let's see if solenoid works. So I will connect this with this little post. Well, again, nothing. Well, it's pretty clear that starter doesn't work. So I have to take it out and investigate more. So let's do it. Starter, it's out. It was a little bit pain, but it's out. And we will do a little bench testing. So here is my arrangement. I have battery. I'm using the jumper cables. Black, it's ground or negative. It goes on device. And positive, you can see here, goes to the cable and goes to the post as on the car. And now you can see the whole thing here. Normal function would be when I touch this and this post, it would energize the solenoid. Solenoid would move this pinion to the left, and in the car it would actually engage with teeth on the flywheel. And when it moves to the right, it connects these two posts, and then power flows from here to here and to the motor. So let's use my favorite crowbar and see if it's working. So put it here and now watch it. So it seems to be working. Okay, so here is the story. I bought this car before we purchased the current house, and so I was facing the dilemma how to move it from where we lived before to here. And at that time I had to move it. Of course I couldn't drive it here, I had to move it with car trailer. And it was a little bit issue because I didn't have too much skills how to back up this car trailer into traditional back alley. So I had to be able to actually start the car at that time, and it was a problem. It didn't work reliably. So I took starter at that time apart and tried to semi-restore it, and I didn't do a really good job for one reason, because I totally neglected replacement of bushings, and bushing is the main reason why it's not working reliably, because this rotor moves like that, and sometimes the contact is correct, sometimes it's not. So I have to revisit my work and start all over. And so I will show you in a little slideshow my original work on the starter, and you will see in what conditions I took it out for the first time and what I did with it. So now is the side show, and then we will continue. So this is a slideshow of images when I took a starter for the first time out of the car, and this first image shows the starter as I took it out. This is a view from the back of the starter. It shows the brush holder, and this is the view from the other side. You can see how that dust booth or that rubber boot is damaged. And this is the detail view of the end of starter where the pinion is. You can see quite accumulated oil on it, which would indicate possible leak between the transmission and engine. And this shows the starter when I clean it for the first time, because I just don't like working on something when I do it for the first time and not to be able to see all the screws and all of that, so that's why I clean it. And this is a brush cover when I took it off, and you can clearly see there is a pile of debris. It's a scraping from a commutator. It's a pile of brass or copper actually. This is how it looked like when I look underneath that cover. You can also see the accumulation of that dust or debris on that connection between the field coil and the brushes. This is the view on a partially disassembled starter. This is a detailed view of brush holder, and just noticed how those brushes are worn out, and when they got to this stage they actually stopped working, and that arm which holds the brush started rubbing against the commutator and caused that accumulation of that debris and actually damage of the commutator. And this is the detail of the commutator. You can see that this is not really functional commutator. Just for the comparison, I'm showing here old brushes which are on the bottom and new brushes which are on the top. You can see how much they are worn out. Here is the stator with field coil. You can see on this image the damage of the insulation of the field coil. And this one is the field coil. When I took it out, you can see that extensive damage of that insulation. This is the field coil when it was repaired. I wrapped it with a new cotton tape and also resolder that connection which is on that stud. And this is the field coil installed back into the stator. And this is the commutator after it was resurfaced and cleaned. And this shows all components ready for assembly. And the last image shows the starter ready to be installed back into the car. One more note, when I was installing the starter back into the car, I replaced both cables. That ground cable was quite corroded, and that main cable which goes from the positive terminal on the battery towards the that post on the starter, it was too small. It was only 6 gauge, and I replaced it with a bigger one because 6 gauge is not enough for 6-volt system. Okay, I will try to disassemble it. Disassemble, try, well, I will disassemble. So this is pretty easy. First I have to disconnect this solenoid. Okay, here we go. Here on this side I will first I have to take out this cotter pin. Cotter pin is out. Okay, here we go. Okay, solenoid is off. So I repositioned the starter in the vise. So now I will remove this band and it would allow us to see brushes and commutator. So that's it. So now I will take off these bolts and remove the stator. Okay. So see? Here we go. It goes easy because when I put it together I put anti-seize and so on, so on. Here we go. So now I will move it. These brushes will disengage, they will just collapse, but it doesn't matter right now. Oh, actually I realized that I have to lose these bolts. Okay, I'm back. So here is okay. So here we go. This connects field coil with brushes here. The same thing on the other side. Okay, so now I think if I lift it, it should go. Here we go. So stator is off. I will take rotor off. Okay. Okay. Rotor is out. These are the washers. Now I can take this here, this clutch out. Oh, maybe I have to take it here. Okay. Right, I take this pin out. I think that solid spring. Okay, this arm can go out with the clutch. Here we go. Now here I have marks. You can see here because it's important to remember the position. You can figure that out, but it's easy if you have marks here. And now I will separate this plate which holds brushes from the field coil holder or whatever stator. So we'll use the hammer. Well, if it doesn't go with small force, it will go with bigger one. Yeah. Here we go. So here is the brush holder with brushes. They are spring loaded, as you can see, like this. And these are the electrical connection to the field coil. Let's look on individual part, just look if anything is wrong with it, kind of like a mechanical evaluation. This lever, I don't see anything wrong with it except a little bit wear here, but it's very small and I think it's insignificant. On pinion and clutch, pinion rotates in the direction which is supposed to and locks in the direction which is supposed to lock. There is a specification for the moment at which it should lock. I may check it later if I figure out how to do it, but I will look later. There is a pin which goes here, and there is a little play, but very little, and it doesn't restrict the movement and it's not really excessive, so I consider this also okay. This end, this casting, there is obviously nothing wrong with it. I check the clearance between the pin and this hole and it seems to be fine. There is a bushing which supports this rotor or armature. We will check that clearance. We will see if there is excessive play. On the stator doesn't really show any damage or anything. I look specifically on any marking which would be there if there is a contact between stator and rotor or armature, and I don't see anything there. If there will be an excessive play, it could be there actually contact, so there will be some marking. I don't see anything wrong with this solenoid. Everything what it's supposed to move, that's mean inside it's moving, and this core, I don't know really wasn't really the name of that, is moves freely. Okay, so there is nothing wrong with this. Brush holder, I check for free movement of these individual brush holders, and everything moves. Right now I block all these arms in open position. I use this pin, I drill the hole here and hole into these arms, and this is how I keep them open. That means there's no contact between the stator and the brushes, and there's a reason for it. I show you. And the last one is the stator, rotor or armature. I don't see any excessive wear on this end, on this support. This support goes to this casting. It seems to be fine, and on the other end also. You may notice this few seconds that now it's actually surfaced. I couldn't really resist and I was playing with it between the shots, and I resurfaced this commutator. I cleaned these spaces between bars, and so now I don't see anything obviously wrong. So let's do some electrical testing. In this segment, I told you that you would see the electrical testing. Unfortunately, when I was transferring the file to my computer, it got corrupted. I didn't notice that, and so I deleted the original file, and then I found out that it's gone. So unless I would take starter again out of the car, disassemble it. I cannot really repeat that, so I cannot really show it to you. I know it kind of degrades the video, but you have to take my word for it. I tested stator with field coil. I tested that for the continuity and it passed. I tested that for the coil grounding. It's not supposed to be grounded. It passed also. I tested armature, rotor, and it was also tested for conductivity and for grounding. That commutator cannot be grounded, and so it passed. Solenoid also passed. There are two winding, and one is like a hold-in winding, and one is like a pulling-in winding, and they worked. And I checked also, last thing which I checked was that brush holder, brush holder plate. There are two kinds of brushes. One pair has to be insulated, so it was, and second has to be grounded, and it was perfect. So unfortunately I don't have the video, but there's nothing I can do now. I partially reassembled the starter, and the reason I did it is that I want to check play of the rotor in these bushings. And another thing which I want to do is to make sure that I didn't miss anything which would kind of point out to reason of the failure of the starter. And one of those things which possibly could be a reason for the failure is that these are the brushes which should stay insulated. And notice, I don't know if you can see it, but here you can actually see that this, which is that live wire, if I can call it, it's pretty close to the body. If it would be in touch, they would be short, and it would affect the performance of the starter. So it's a possibility. Another possibility is that if these bolts are loose, this is the connection between the field coil here and those brushes. If these bolts are loose, there is a contact which is not reliable. It could be contact sometimes and sometimes not. So I put together this part, and now I will test again the for continuity. And again, I want to make sure it's working. So it's working. So there should be no continuity between the body of starter and this brush holder, or eventually the brush. So if I touch it, there should be no sound. Okay, if I touch the body, here, okay, so if I hold it here, okay, there is a sound. If I touch the holder, there should be no sound. Again, back, sound, no sound. And because these two opposite brushes are connected with that wire, I don't have to check that one. So this is the brush which is grounded, so there should be a sound. Okay, so that's it. If I again keep doing the same thing, let me check that. If I touch this post, there should be no sound. Okay, so sound and no sound. So it seems to be fine. I think that I made a little bit premature um, I would say, conclusion that I know what's wrong with it. If you look here on this end of the shaft and the bushing here, and if I check like that, there is a little play, but I don't think this is really excessive play. Originally, of course, there was less play, but I don't think this should affect the performance of the starter. It's much harder to touch it here and kind of create that play, but I try with my fingers and you cannot really see it, but I don't see any significant radial movement. So possibly, most likely I was wrong in my initial assumption. I have to really give some more thoughts what could be the reason why sometimes that starter works and sometimes it does not. I went through all of it. I didn't find anything catastrophic. So now I will try to make a conclusion. I think that possibly that little connection between the brush holder and field coil was not sufficient enough, because I kind of recall looking back at those videos which I'm making right now. I noticed that one of those screws was not really tight enough, and I think that, you know, sometimes it worked, and when I actually took it out of the car, it just again was touching more, and there was a connection. And another thing which I want to make sure now is that this connecting wire between these two brushes is insulated. I wrap it with the tape. It looks like a broken leg, but I don't have better tape. And so now the plan is that I will put it partially together. I will put together only motor. I will not put a solenoid on it, and I will see how it's running, if it is running reliably. If I don't have that that solenoid there, I can measure current and I will see if it meets the specs, and that's my first step. If this passes, I will attach this mechanism of that pinion, and I will test that part, and then if it's working, I will put it back into the car and hope it's going to work. So I'm going to put it together, and I will do that little testing. Alright, I have it ready. I assemble it. Of course, you see that there is no solenoid. I lubricate everything, I clean it, and I set it up like this. So here you can see the battery connected. Red is positive, black is negative. Black is connected to the vise. I have here this, and this will be touching this post here. I place here a meter to measure the current. So it should be between 60 and 70 amperes, okay? So then it's running like without any load. So let's see, I put it on. So it seems to me that it's running. It appears that first test was a great success. Sure. So now I will assemble whole starter, that's me, which includes the solenoid and everything. I will recheck everything, and then we would do the test, final test before we put it into the car. I want to show you one more thing. Just when I'm taking it apart, I prior to this last little test, I put chalk on the rotor. I wanted to make sure that there is no rubbing between the rotor or armature and the stator. And so as you can see, there is really no marks which would indicate that contact. Okay, so I'm positive that that's not a problem of clearance, and there is no excessive radial play which would cause that contact. Okay, everything is assembled. I put a solenoid on it. I kind of repeated the same wiring. It's the same as in the car. Of course, there is a positive, negative is here, and here I have this trigger which represents the key, and when I push this it would activate the solenoid. It should move to the right, and as soon as it moves, this will extract, and this should actually start the flow into the motor, and motor should start. So let's see. 1, 2, 3. Excellent. One more time. Well, it seems to be working, so maybe I fix it. Well, okay. I will summarize what I done. First, you saw it, I pretty much took the whole thing apart except the field coil, and I tested that. Everything seemed to be working. I started having a little bit troubles when I start connecting field coil to brushes and so on. And one of those things which I replaced was this little screw. Because if you would look closely, I don't know if you can see it, maybe. It seems to me that, first of all, it was too long. And the second, there is a marking on it which indicates there was really some kind of sparking, and it kind of ate the thread. So it seems to me that the connection between the field coil and brushes was not reliable and was like random. So that's what I fixed. Of course, I cleaned the commutator. I made sure that there is enough space between individual bars, and I adjusted the position of this solenoid. Everything seems to be working. So now it's time to put it into the car. On this slow motion clip, I think it's clearly visible how the screw is loose, and that's why that connection is just not reliable. And I believe that this is the main reason why starter didn't work. I tried to take a picture of that eroded screw. Unfortunately, camera didn't focus, but if you look closely, you might see it. Starter is installed, battery is connected, you can see the light, and I will try if it's working. Alright, key in. it's only to see if the starter works. I don't really think that we would be starting the engine. I also know that engine turns, so there is no danger I would kind of run into something. So let's see. Ignition on, and 1, 2, 3. Well, it moved. Great. So this is going to conclude episode number 3, and I will see you in the episode number 4.